youngest daughter's proved positive for COVID
Oh, wow.
up in Bristol. So, but she had it very mild. She just complained she couldn't taste her food. So she's
That's right.
a bit like her dad, more worried about her food than anything. But which annoyed me a little bit because obviously I worked on critical care during the first bout of it. So I said, "You got nothing to complain about, really."
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is 7 o'clock. So if you could all please mute your microphones for a second, whilst I welcome everybody to the monthly meeting of
Just
Redruth Town Council.
hang on, Deborah. I'm just about to start recording.
Okay, do you want me to say that again?
Please.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to the monthly meeting of Redruth Town Council. And the first item on the agenda is to confirm that members can communicate with others at the meeting. Would you like to go round, Pete?
Councillor Barnes.
Yes, I can hear.
Hang on you, not the table.
Councillor Mrs. Biscoe.
Can't see me.
Councillor Mrs. Biscoe.
It's gone round the wrong way.
Yeah.
Councillor Mr. Biscoe.
I'm here.
Your camera's facing the wrong way, I think.
How you do that, I don't know.
Councillor Bishop.
Yeah, here.
That's better than looking at me.
Councillor Broad.
Mute your mic.
No Councillor Broad. Councillor Brown.
Here and I can hear.
Thank you. Mrs. Davidson.
I'm here and I can hear.
Mrs. Allenbrook.
I'm here and I can hear.
Councillor Garrick and Councillor Page have both given apologies. Councillor Reeve.
I'm here and I can both hear and see.
Councillor Thomas.
I can hear and see, thank you.
Councillor Tregunner sent apologies. And Councillor Tremaine.
I can hear and I can hear, but I can't see. But that's nothing to do with computers.
Can I please ask that everybody that isn't speaking mutes their microphone, because with so many of us in the meeting, we get feedback. Okay. Thank you. Item 2, members to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests or non-registrable interests, including details thereof, in respect of any items on this agenda. Do we have anyone? Shouldn't have, I don't think. Thank you. Item 3, suspend standing orders to allow the public to speak. I believe we have a member of the public wishing to speak, so could somebody please move that for me? Councillor Brown, somebody second that, please. Councillor Tremaine, thank you very much. I assume everybody is in favour. Mr. Thomas.
Good evening, thank you. Good evening and thank you all for allowing me to address you. By way of declaring my personal pecuniary interests, I should advise you that I'm both a Redruth Town Councillor and Cornwall Councillor, a business owner and occupier of one of the Town Council's trading units in Market Way. I also hold office on a number of community groups and associations, including one as chairman of Redruth Town Band. The first matter to which I wish to make representation is the reinstatement of rents to the Market Way unit licensees. During the past week, I've been approached by and spoken with each of your unit licensees. At the outset, I must say that each and every licensee was and still is eternally grateful that the Town Council waived the unit rental from April through to and until the end of the initial COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. Not forgetting, of course, that the Town Council, through HMG directives, were forced to close down Market Way in its entirety. Of course, we are more than grateful that the waiver, once Market Way was allowed to reopen, was extended through July until, as is now proposed, the end of October. Of course, despite this kindness, your unit licensees were left without any income during the 3 months of the lockdown, and in a number of cases, relatively new unit licensees had not been trading long enough to build a financial cushion or reserve, nor benefit from self-employment grants or sole trader grants. It is fair to say that whilst the rent was waived, the same could not be said of other outgoings. For example, equipment hire, energy costs, insurances, and business loan repayments. It's also fair to add that since the end of lockdown, all bar one of your licensees has seen a dramatic and ongoing fall in receipts, ranging from 30% of any hope of business viability to absolutely no receipts on any particular day or any particular week. So the Town's Council should be aware that having lost one business as a victim of the pandemic already, there is a strong possibility that more will follow. This is not over, nor is a robust recovery in sight. You should be aware that the majority of your unit licensees are struggling, both financially and mentally. The current level of footfall and receipts are soul destroying. As I've said, your licensees are eternally grateful, but are at the same time disappointed that the Town Council have discussed, considered and agreed to reinstate a 50% rent from November and December, a matter of weeks before Christmas. What is more, no conversations nor consultations have taken place between our landlord and his tenants. No discussion about how is it for you? Is there any way in which we can help? How are you coping? Are you making an income? Just a written decision delivered by email. We question how informed were the Audit and Accounting Committee before and during their deliberations. Of course, your unit licensees would have expected to have had their rents reinstated at some point, but we do question the council's timing. A cynic might think that with Christmas coming, your licensees might gain the financial fillip of receipts. So why don't the council seek a share of such a fillip? But the fillip is only a hope, not an expectation. If the Town Council had sought an opportunity to converse and consult with its licensees, 90% would have suggested extending the rent waiver until 31st of December, and in one case February 2021 and in another case 31st of March 2021, then to introduce a 50% rent for January, February and March with a review during the latter months. I will leave my comments there with you, but just to add, we the unit licensees, bar the one I mentioned, have grave concerns for the viability of our individual units and the whole Market Way complex, unless the Town Council can find a way to reconsider its decision. Thank you. The second matter relates to Redruth Town Band and the use of the Market Hall. And having already advised you of my interests, I now wish to address you as chairman of the Redruth Town Band. So putting aside the accommodation difficulty that the band finds itself in, we are also badly affected by the restrictions placed on it, both in respect of practice and performance. The band has had no opportunity to gain income since March. Not only that, but morale, player membership and the band's very existence are all at high risk. However, the Penventon Park Hotel have asked if the band are able to provide a quartet or quintet to perform Christmas carols on certain evenings in the lead up to Christmas. These performances would be subject to COVID-19 risk assessment and HMG directives. The Penventon have also agreed to provide some rehearsal space for the ensemble within the same criteria. So this arrangement started to get the band's grey cells working. I, in another role, published some time ago now to the world and his wife the suggestion that the Redruth Market Group and others ought to consider a weekly market in the Market Hall on every Saturday until Christmas. This wasn't purely out of self-interest as a trader in the units, but for the benefit of all the unit holders, the butter market folk, the community, and those who usually sell their wares and goods at crafts stalls, boot sales and that throughout the year, and have seen no income this year. I understand from a colleague that discussions are ongoing, but nothing is known about any concrete plans. So it occurs to those of us who have an interest in having a town band at all, that maybe, just maybe, a small ensemble could perform for a couple of hours on a Saturday morning on certain weekends leading up to Christmas. Hopefully we may have a Christmas tree in the market hall, and maybe we could have some music to entertain, encourage footfall, give the town a bit of a boost or whatever else, but in the interests of the town, not of any specific business. So the question for the council, if I may be so bold, is subject to COVID-19 risk assessments and HMG directives, would it be possible to utilise one corner of the market hall for the purposes of the band playing music on a Saturday morning for a couple of hours? And I have to say, before you either make a decision or come to a conclusion, that nothing is certain, not for any of us. So it's only a proposal, it's not a definite. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Has anybody got any questions for Mr. Thomas? Councillor Barnes. Unmute, thank you.
Yes, I'd like to ask Councillor Thomas if they pursued the old chapel in St Day Road Cemetery.
Yeah. I'll answer that, Chair, if I may.
Yep.
Yes, we've had a look at it. We can't get into it or that close to it because it's all locked up and protected. But we are intending, get the terminology now, asking the Diocese of Truro who owns it and whether it would be available or not. The only negative about that suggestion is the lack of parking.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Mrs. Biscoe.
Thank you. It's also been muted with us as we go around the town doing Henry's business, that it's not only the market people, it's also the people around them who are noticing the lack of footfall. The lady in Alma Place Gallery is really struggling there, and with the market not taking place anymore, she said her footfall is just practically gone. So it's not just the market, it's also the traders all around the market who've been talking to us in recent weeks and commenting that without the market, they are noticing specific days that they are not as busy as they normally would want to be.
Thank you, Councillor Allenbrook.
Thank you, Chair. On the St Day Road Cemetery Chapel, if you have a conversation with me outside the meeting, I will, because it is in my division and it's something that I've been concerned about for a while, I will be able to hopefully give you some leads on the people you should actually be speaking to about that building, if that helps.
Thank you, Councillor Enbrook. That's very helpful.
Councillor Barnes, is that an old hand?
No. I was trying to get back in time before before you moved on. I'm 98% certain that it belongs to the council, Cornwall Council, because I remember when it used to belong to Carrier District Council. So it's a council chapel, and like most buildings, Cornwall Council can't wait to get rid of it.
I think the clerk wants to come in, Peter.
Can I just say thank you, Councillor Barnes?
Yeah.
Can I just refer back to
Peter? You need to unmute.
Oh. Can I just refer back to Mr. Thomas's first item with the rent and reassure members that discussions have been ongoing since the traders have been back in Market Way regarding the rent, and I'm led to believe that they are all delighted with what we've done so far. And yes, whilst the proposal could be better, they, from what I understand, believe it to be fair. That said, Council have taken a decision. The matter cannot be discussed for another 6 months unless I remind you that 6 members of the Council put in a special written motion for the matter to be discussed again.
Mr. Thomas, you wish to respond?
Yes, if I may, Chair. I thought I'd made it clear, one, that I am one of those unit holders. Absolutely no discussions have been held with me. The individuals I've spoken to, bar one, are not content with the council's approach. If there has been the odd cursory discussion with certain individuals, and perhaps in particular one who's happy with the arrangement, then that may have coloured what the town clerk has just said. But I can assure you that in the last month, I've probably seen 1 or 2 council representatives, and none of them, or neither of them, have discussed anything about rent or how particular businesses are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I think the clerk has explained quite clearly the situation with Mr. Thomas's first point, and the second point about the town band, because it wasn't already placed on this agenda, in order for us to discuss it further, would have to be placed on the agenda at the next available meeting, which I believe is Monday week, which is amenities. So is that what you would request us to do, Councillor Thomas?
Sorry, Chair. Again, I don't want to cause difficulties. In terms of what you said about the town band, time is not of the essence. So the date you just suggested, which is Monday, did you say Monday week?
Yeah, a week today is amenities committee.
That would be okay, providing that the band agree and everybody agrees. In terms of the town clerk's explanation, my understanding is that it cannot be considered by the council again during that period unless new information comes to hand. I would have thought that I've provided sufficient new information.
Well, Councillor Biscoe wishing to speak.
With regard to the band, has anybody been inquiring about Trelay Church Hall? You'd need to go and talk to Casper about it, but it is about the right size, I think. Ian, if you'd, that's another place you could look at.
Can I respond to that, Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
We've had lengthy discussions with Casper Bush about use of church space, including the crypt and including the scout hut to the rear of St Andrews, which the church own and occupy. At no point has he suggested Trelay School, so therefore it's not an option we'd considered. However, if he's minded to offer that up or discuss it, then I'm sure we would be interested. Thank you.
I think it was Trelay Church Hall, Councillor Biscoe, not the
yes,
school.
Sorry, yes, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
Trelay School.
Okay. That was what I was going to say. Trelay Church Hall, not the school, of course. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, have we got anything else on this now? So we will put the item for discussion about the town band using Market Hall on next Monday's amenities committee. And I will take advice from the clerk as to whether or not there is sufficient new information for us to include the discussion about the rental units at Market Way. Unless anybody else has got anything they want to say. Nope. Okay, thank you very much. So item 5 is to reinstate standing orders. Could somebody please move? Councillor Brown, somebody second that, please. Councillor Mrs. Biscoe, thank you. I'm guessing we're all in favour. Item 6 then is to deal with local police issues. Somebody from the police liaison group want to speak? Oh, I've got Councillor Ellenbrook.
Yeah, just to say there was a meeting organised by Inspector Shields, but unfortunately, due to personal circumstances, I was not able to attend. So I'm sorry, I've got no feedback on that. But I believe if we look at Charlotte Caldwell's report, she will actually be able to update us on what happened because she did attend. Thank you.
Okay, I've got Councillor Barnes. Unmute, Stephen.
Yeah, I would like to raise with the police people on motor vehicles driving around Strawberry Lane or Piggy Lane, whatever you want to call it, the sports field at the back of Hawthorne Close. Can those concerns be passed on to the police?
I'm sure that they can. Is the right route through Safer Towns, or do we want to actually contact the police directly?
Well, it's only the police that can stop these people. Go both ways if you want.
Yeah, I'm happy to raise the next Safer Towns meeting that I attend, and perhaps the clerk could drop an email to the local police to inform them of that. Councillor Biscoe.
I was in the same position as Barbara due to work commitments that they decided to change at the last minute. I was also unable to attend the police liaison group meeting, and sorry about that, but I hope Charlotte's report covers most of it. Thank you.
Okay, so Councillor Barnes, is that an old hand?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so item 7 is to receive reports from the Cornwall Council ward members on their work within the Redruth parish. You'll see that Councillor Ellenbrook's report is attached. Does anybody have any questions? Barbara, would you like to?
Hopefully it's self-explanatory. I think the idea of asking us to submit reports rather than to give verbal updates makes much more sense, frankly, and I think it's something that we should do from now on. Although it is one of those things I need a longer chase than just I need it in a couple of days, please, clerk. Thank you.
So I do agree. It's very helpful to have the reports in advance because it means that members can formulate any questions they may have ahead of time. So could I ask the other two Cornwall councillors in the future, if you want to give a report, could you please do it in writing prior to the meeting? But on this occasion, I will go to Councillor Thomas. Do you have anything to report?
No, nothing other than the usual mundane work of a Cornwall councillor. Probably the biggest issue at the moment and concern for the community is the flooding caused by both runoff from the fields that are on the triangle between Buckets Hill and Trewergy Hill. That's the fields up and behind Morris's. The impact it's having on Morris's car park, the Smelting Works Cottage, Percy Williams Yard, including Town Council let property, or whatever the right words are. But more importantly for me is the impact that it's having on residents' homes in Redruth Heights. I'm trying to get Cornwall Council to act. They have cleaned the drains and gullies. They are going to employ CCTV cameras to see what the issues are. But I suspect it's something to do with climate change, poor farm management, and the removal of ditches around fields. I think it's something that certain people are going to have to live with. But unfortunately, it becomes a civil issue where between the resident and the landowner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Barnes?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I've attended all the meetings I should do. Unfortunately, I've been suffering from plantar fasciitis very badly this last month or so, and I've had to go to the doctor about it. I've also went and did a mock wreath laying at Victoria Park with Councillor Thomas, which was weird to say the least, and I was stopped by quite a few people on the way home wanting to know what on earth are you dressed up like that for. So I've had to explain to more people than I thought I'd have to what we was doing. I've also been down to see the people at the St Rooms Club regarding the possible development up at Tranqueith, because they're obviously very concerned that they don't have any impact on their business. But it's been a very busy month. Everything keeps going, and I thought that when we had all these virtual meetings, it should make the day. I should have less to do. In fact, I got more because people think they can cram more meetings in. I think last week, I can't remember if I had 4 or 5 meetings on last Tuesday. Absolutely incredible. I started 9 in the morning and finished with 2 minutes to 8 at night. So it doesn't make things that much easier, really. It just allows other people to manipulate your time more. That's the end of the whinge.
Okay, thank you. Has anybody got any questions for any of our 3 Cornwall councillors? Councillor Biscoe? You have to unmute, Henry.
I have a couple of questions for Councillor Barnes. One, the bollard at the bottom of the town is takes, I think it's 1 minute and 39 seconds to lower. Now, that might not seem very long, but when you have Mr. Wilkes in his Bifford dust cart with the back of it poking out into the back of the street, and then somebody else trying to get into the street as well, then it could be very dangerous. It presents a potential hazard. And I wonder if there's anything that Councillor Barnes could do to get the time of that bollard going down shortened. The one at the top takes about 5 seconds to go down to let a vehicle exit. And I wonder if he could have words with whoever to get that time shortened, because it's a pain. It really is. My other concern is that the grass verges at Tralee coming into the school have been beautifully cut by Cormac. There is the triangle that goes just before the exit from Tralee School has not been cut, and that impairs the visibility from traffic coming down the B3047, and it can be quite dangerous because, well, if you've ever gone down there at 9 o'clock, mothers and wanted to get home quickly are a little impatient. So if they could cut that, which they've done before on, I believe, Councillor Barnes's request, would be very good. You also raised the point of flooding as well. At the bottom of that triangle, there's a drain there that Cormac come along once, perhaps twice a year, and they empty. And they very kindly take all the stuff out of the drain, and then they pile it up around the side of the drain, so that when you have another deluge of rain, all the stuff washes back into the drain, which they won't take it away because it's treated, because it's contaminated because it's been on the road. This then causes a flood at the dip at the bottom by the turning then to Radnor, causes flooding down there, which that drain also gets blocked up as well. And it just seems silly to me that Cormac won't actually take away the stuff that they take out of the drain. And if he could make representation to Cormac, I'd be ever so grateful. Thank you very much. Is that all right, Stephen?
Yes, fine, thank you.
You can
Made
deal
a
with
note.
that.
Yeah.
You make sure we promise.
I promise I'll raise it. I can't promise they'll do anything, but I will get on to them.
Okay.
I'll be round to see you.
This is the grass needs to be cut. I was at the pub, basically, is what you're saying, isn't it? Beside the pub.
Down by this, yes, basically, yes.
All right.
There's a Trelay paddocks, and then there's a big triangle, and they left it all grow nice and tall, and they cut all the verges beautifully, preceding that. But the grass on the triangle is well overgrown, and it impairs visibility, especially that bloody great house in the way.
Right. Okay.
Michael.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Davidson, please.
Unmute.
Need to unmute, Judy.
Just a quick question for Councillor Barnes. I know it has been raised before, but it really continues to be a very dangerous parking issue. Is the one previously referred to just beside Nettles Hill car park?
Yeah.
It's getting worse. In fact, I nearly came a cropper myself, because when you're coming up, you can't see a thing. So I don't know if it's any good raising again, but I just thought I would mention it.
I gave consent for them to do that about 2 months ago.
I know.
I'll check with Highways about Newcut.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it's just really Stephen, Mr. Barnes, Councillor Barnes. The grass triangle that Henry refers to is in fact Cornwall Council's property. I know that from the days of being associated with Trelay School, and in my time we had difficulty getting that grass cut, but it has been established that that is owned by Cornwall Council and therefore is their responsibility. Whether it's part of the Cormac contract, of course, is a different matter. And in terms of what Henry has referred to, where they clear a gully and just pile it up at the side, there is evidence of that at, I think it's called Eastleigh Terrace at North Country, where the water from the A30 is fed down supposedly underground and eventually ends up in the Portreath River. But what happens is if you can picture what was the old allotment, the corner of the playing field at North Country on the estate, there used to be a gully that ran down the side of that allotment, and it is nothing new to see Cormac workmen digging out the gully and simply piling up the muck and mud along the edge of the gully, and of course the next rainfall or the next vehicle that comes round and takes the corner a little bit wide pushes all the brown stuff back into that gully. So I think there's something wrong with Cormac's practices, but no doubt you'll raise that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Mrs Allenbrook.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just very quickly, I, along with everybody else, has been approached by people about this parking situation on Nettles Hill, and I did actually get in touch with Adrian Drake about it, and I do apologise, Stephen. I thought I'd forwarded his reply to both you and Ian, but possibly I didn't. And his reply to me was that he is hoping that it will actually be done sometime towards the middle end of November, because They've got most of the paperwork all signed off. They've just got to do the final little bits of legal, and then they can actually get it done. So that was the information, and I do apologise if I didn't send that to you. I meant to, and I'll find it in the heap of emails that we all get and forward it on to you. And I could concur with the issue that we have about let's have half a dozen meetings, because do you know what? Those councillors are just sitting on their bottoms doing nothing. Drives you mad, but that's another story.
Okay, thank you. Has anybody else got any questions for our Cornwall councillors? No, I've just got one for Barbara. Could you give us a bit more information about who was awarded the Cultural Consortium pilot project, please?
No, it's the short answer, because I've been told not to until a press release has been agreed. So
I know when that might be.
No, I don't. I will check, but I did ask the question when I put that in my report, and was told that we had to wait for everything to be done officially before we could say. But I do have to say, having sat on the panel that judged them, it was incredibly difficult, and there were 14 of them, and there were a good half a dozen of those 14 that were within a whisker of each other. So it was really, really hard. But we do plan to do more of this type of work in future. So I'm really hoping that other people will, the people who were unsuccessful this time, will apply again.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on to item 8 is to receive a report from the Community Link Officer, Miss Charlotte Caldwell, and Charlotte is here. So Charlotte, would you like to speak to your report?
Hi there, everybody. Yes, good evening. Thank you very much. Happy to take questions, as always. Just wanted to add a few extra reminders. Just to say that the Community Chest Crisis Fund, which is part matched by Coastline Housing, it still has some money left. So if you know of any groups in your area, or indeed any of the other areas within CPIR, because not all the councillors have fully spent up yet, so please do encourage them to get an application in. If they need an application form, they can contact myself or Liz, and we're more than happy to send one out. Last week I sent you in, I think it was Thursday's daily update, details of how to access the COVID support packs for local residents who are self-isolating. We've also got one for community groups and businesses, so I would encourage you to have a look at those. Please also, if you can, go into the social media links for the CPIR network. We've got a Facebook account and Twitter account. We'd be really grateful if you could visit those pages as often as possible, because I do regularly post updates, but also share them with other groups so that we can try and get even more people reading the information, the people in the community that really need it the most, quite a lot of our vulnerable residents. I was on the HAS panel, as was Barbara, looking at the I'd be keen to explore putting my voluntary hat on now with the directors of the Youth Cafe, an option to look at whether we can the project, because at least then it will involve young people and get them off the streets doing something meaningful in that space instead, as a meanwhile use. I think that would be police liaison meeting, and it's probably better to get the detail from Inspector Jo Shields, but just to say that she did refer to dedicated work that her officers have been doing in Jennings Road and also down at Crescent Kernow. So I'm sure she'll be willing to give the details of those, because some of those may be confidential, but I'm sure she will be willing to share those, obviously, with the people that missed the meeting. Happy, of course, to take any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlotte. I've got Councillor Barnes.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask Charlotte, if we're approached, can we use the community chest money to do these free meals for children at the half term or not?
I will check that out because I've been asked that already. In terms of other communities that have applied to do something similar, there's a community larder setting up in the Carharrick area that Councillor Kazmarek is very keen to support. It's not being put in as a kind of support instead of the free school meals. It's a community larder, so I think it's really how it's worded, but I will check that for sure and get back to all the 3 Cornwall councillors and the town clerk.
Okay, thank you.
I suspect the answer will be yes.
Anybody else got any other questions for Charlotte? Oh, okay, thank you ever so much, Charlotte.
Thank you very much indeed.
See you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 9, to receive the town mayor's announcements. So you've had my report. The only thing I have to add is that I attended the CPIR Climate Change Group meeting on last Wednesday evening. We received a presentation from a lady from an organisation who are promoting farming-friendly eco projects, and there will likely be a proposal coming forwards from that in the near future. And I will be going back to the network panel to give an update at the next meeting, which escapes me exactly when that is. Has anybody got any questions? Councillor Davidson, thank you.
This is just a quick question. The library obviously is open and we're moving around and things seem to be getting back to normal. Where are we with working from home now with the staff? Not quite caught up with that.
I'll pass you over to the clerk.
Those that are choosing to follow the government guidance are working from home and are coming in 1 or 2 days a week. At the moment, I'm in all the time.
The ones that are at home at the moment, how long is that likely to last, Peter? Because at the moment, we're in the lowest tier, aren't we?
Yep, but the government guidance still says work from home where possible. So until that changes, they will no doubt follow that guidance.
And there's nothing we can say about that at all, should we want to. Okay, thank you.
Okay, has anybody else got any questions? Okay, there is one recommendation from my report. If you would just have a look, please. It regards Safer Towns meetings. I'm requesting that a member of staff attends those meetings in the future. It's become apparent that there's always a member of staff in attendance from Camborne who is able to answer questions which are always forthcoming about things that are going on in the town, which councillor might not necessarily have the answer to. So I think it would be very helpful if we were to nominate a member of staff to do that moving forwards. So if somebody could propose that recommendation for me, please, I would be grateful. Got Councillor Davidson, somebody seconding, that's Councillor Ellenbrook. Is everybody in favour? Does anybody want to object or abstain? All in favour? Okay, that's great. I'll leave that up to the clerk to decide who it is that should be nominated to attend. Okay, and the rest of the report is just to be noted. Thank you very much. Okay, item 10 is to confirm the minutes of 10-1, the monthly meeting of the council held on the 28th of September 2020. You've had the minutes. Could somebody move that for me, please? Councillor Davidson again, seconded by Councillor Thomas. Is there anyone that can't vote?
Councillor Mrs Biscoe, Councillor Tremaine are both abstaining.
Okay. Everybody, do you want to go round, Peter?
Councillor Barnes, sorry, it wasn't Mrs Biscoe, it was Mr Biscoe. Councillor Barnes?
Yes.
Councillor Mrs Biscoe?
Yes.
Councillor Bishop?
Yes.
Councillor Brown?
Yes.
Mrs Davidson?
Yes.
Mrs Ellenbrook?
Yes.
Ms Reeve?
In favour.
Thomas? Councillor Thomas?
You're muted, Ian.
4.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 11 is to receive the town clerk's report.
You've all got my report. Just running down quickly the planning white paper. As you know, what planning meeting a response was drafted, was sent out to you all and has now gone off. The casual vacancy for Redruth North, I can confirm that Councillor Tremaine completed his declaration of acceptance of office before me on the 29th of September 2020, and therefore can legally act as a member of the Town Council now. And the organisational and staffing reviews, Skylight, are hopefully going to give their final recommendations to Council at an extraordinary meeting, which I'm hoping will be held on Tuesday the 10th of November at 7 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Anybody got any questions there? No, pretty straightforward. So item 12 is to receive correspondence.
One item on the correspondence schedule from the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner, Councillor Advocate Scheme. This is something that they started back long, as you can see at the beginning of the email, around April, May, June time, and our town mayor kindly stepped in at the time. They're now looking to extend it right across the whole Devon and Cornwall area, including every town and parish council, and are asking for a couple of nominees so that you can receive messages, pass them on and everything else. So have we got any volunteers?
Councillor Ellenbrook, are you volunteering?
No, I'm not volunteering because I actually have one already and have been for quite a considerable length of time. But
Okay.
Just so you're aware that I have been involved in it.
Okay. Councillor Mrs Biscoe?
Yeah, I'll volunteer for that.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm happy to continue, Peter. So.
Okay. Members content that councillors Mrs Biscoe and Miss Reeve are our two nominated representatives. And obviously any emails that you get sent, you can circulate them round to everybody else to make sure, or send them to me and I'll circulate them. And I'll let the OPCC know the nominated councillors. Thank you. That's it for correspondence.
Okay, thank you. Item 13 is to receive the minutes as reports of the following committee meetings and to accept and approve the recommendations and resolutions contained within of. And I'll take 13.1 and 13.2 together. Planning Committee of the 12th of March 2020 and Interim Planning Committee of the 28th of September 2020. Minutes attached. Somebody like to move that, please? Councillor Brown, thank you. Somebody second it, please. Councillor Ellenbrook. Everybody in favour? Anybody want to abstain or object? No? Okay, great, thank you. Item 13.3, General Purposes Committee of the 5th of October 2020. Councillor Davidson is moving. Somebody like to second that, please? Councillor Thomas, thank you very much. Everybody happy with that? Nobody wanting to object or abstain? Great. And 13.4, Audit and Accounting Governance Committee of the 19th of October 2020. Councillor Brown is moving that. Somebody like to second it, please? I can't see Councillor Barnes. Councillor Thomas seconding it. Thank you very much. Everybody happy? Nobody wants to? Yeah, okay, that's great. Item 14, the annual audit of the Town Council's accounts for the year ending the 31st of March 2020. See report attached. Peter, do you want to say something?
Other than hopefully the report is straightforward, you will see the external audit report and certificate which is attached to it, and you'll see that the external auditor has raised no major matters in the first bit and picked up on my transposition of figures as a minor thing to justify their £2,500 expense.
Okay, anybody got any questions for the clerk? Would somebody like to move that then, please? Councillor Davidson, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Barnes. Anybody wanting to abstain? Okay, thank you very much. Item 15 is to receive and approve the schedule of accounts. Would like to move? Councillor Ellenbrook, are you asking a question or are you moving?
I'm actually going to ask a question, and it's odd, really. Sorry.
Okay, we'll call you Stephen later.
Why are some of the payments to our employees as wages and some as salary? I'm just curious.
Those that are full-time are salary, those that are wages are part-time.
Thank you. I've always wondered, and I thought I'm going to ask. Now I know.
Okay, then.
I'm happy, and I'm therefore happy to propose them as well, if that's...
Yeah, great. And they look like they're seconded by Councillor Davidson. Thank you very much. Everybody in favour? No one wanting to object or abstain? Great. Okay. I therefore declare this meeting over. Thank you very much, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night,
Good night,
night.
everyone.
Night, night, everybody.